Today on Monkey Life, baby marmoset Amy needs a family. But will the whole household accept her?
It's a bit frantic, but it's good. Nothing bad so far.
An attempted coup at Malagasy leaves Lemur, Indiana feeling frozen out.
Kurt, with the help of his brother Friedrich, has really been making an effort to oust Indiana from that top spot.
And the chimps and the staff are in mourning for a much-loved friend. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
Hello, Pipsqueak. Hello, Mimi.
The park provides a home for more than 250 monkeys and apes from 21 different species. This morning, the park has woken to a magical winter wonderland. Mother Nature has left a layer of frost and ice everywhere, and all the platforms and hoses in the chimp enclosures are a sparkling sight to behold. It's a rare event, and Hananya's group of 19 chimps are fascinated. As ever, it's the leader who's showing the way. Hananya carefully forms a small ball of ice and begins licking it up. High-ranking female Johnny isn't so subtle, scooping up as much ice as she can before it starts to melt. Valerie has taken a more precarious route, balancing on a slippery hose and reaching down for a frost-covered treat. It's the girls who are demonstrating just how agile chimps can be. Honey and Patricia, both showing off their skills on the icy high hoses. Thelma arrives clinging to Mum Cherry's back, which keeps her nice and warm as she gazes in wonder at the frost-covered park. Young chimps learn from their families, and after watching Jess, she soon catches on, scooping up and eating the ice. But at 4 years of age, she's adventurous and happy to go it alone. The slippery high hoses are treated with caution at first, but as Thelma gains confidence, she's soon showing off her balance skills, watched by Zeynep and Shamak, with Johnny following behind just in case. No need to worry. Thelma is turning into a strong and energetic young chimp with bags of ability. And in any case, Mum Cherry's never far away, keeping a watchful eye. Ice feast over, it's time for everyone to wrap up from the cold. While little Thelma decides, although she's enjoyed her icy encounters, she needs a little comfort, and heads inside for the warmth of the indoor bedroom. It's a big morning for another youngster at the park, who's also its newest arrival. Alison recently assisted the police following a raid in North London, where a young marmoset was found in a small cage. While the police case continues, the marmoset, probably less than a year old, has been placed in the care of Monkey World. The youngster was checked over at the park and given a clean bill of health.
Hi, little girl.
The team have now determined she's a female and named her Amy.
Come on, Clydie. We've got a new baby for you.
Amy needs a mum, so she was introduced to Clydie in the hope she'd adopt her. It was clear from the outset Amy was desperate for company of her own kind, and she made baby calls to the adult female.
Oh, what do you think, Clydie?
The introduction went well, Clyde, who was also rescued from very poor conditions, was instantly protective of Amy. A great start.
This morning, we put Clyde just back with her family, with Milo and Caesar, just for the morning, so they could eat together, just because she hasn't seen them since yesterday. We wanted to make sure they're still okay and still happy together. And then today, we're going to bring Clyde back to see Amy again, but we're also going to bring in Caesar, who's the youngster in this family group.
Clyde is a proven adoptive mum and has been with her partner Milo since he was rescued 5 years ago. To keep the introduction controlled and not overwhelm Amy, Clyde will be there when she meets Caesar.
Caesar does nothing but play, pretty much all the time. And Amy's only been here 2 days, but we see that in her as well. So the two of them together, if they get on, will just be so much fun. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what we're hoping for. Good girl, Clyde. Nicely, guys.
The team's main concern is whether Caesar may become a little jealous of the attention Clyde pays to Amy. But they needn't worry. The two youngsters meet, with Amy desperate for attention, and Caesar taking a few moments to grasp what's going on. But they soon start playing, and a clearly excited Amy starts to baby cry more. Baby crying is generally an attention-seeking sound from a young marmoset.
It's a bit frantic, but it's good. Nothing bad so far.
Adoptive mum Clyde stands by, ready to hand out reassurance if needed.
Good girl. All right, Clyde.
It's going so well, Alison and Karen need to decide if now is the right time to introduce dad of the group, Milo.
What do you reckon? Does she need a break? Should we take it slow? For this family group of 3, the addition of Amy could be an absolutely brilliant thing, because it means Caesar, who's a bit older than Amy, will have a really good active playmate. And, you know, the remaining piece of the puzzle here is Dad Milo. And Milo isn't our most well-adjusted marmoset here at the park, and he came from very difficult circumstances and also a cruelty case in the British pet trade. I'm hopeful that he's actually a nice person and that the baby will be okay, but that's the last piece in the puzzle, is bringing Dad in on this family group.
I'm ready for another baby, Milo.
After much deliberation, they decide Amy is coping so well it could be the right time to try and introduce her prospective dad. Amy's excited to meet him and attempts to climb on his back, showing natural marmoset behaviour, as all family members take it in turns to carry the youngsters. Milo takes it in his stride. He doesn't seem too bothered by this new addition bombarding him with love and attention. The introductions today have far exceeded what the team could have hoped for so early on.
Really good. I think we've got a family unit. Shouldn't say that because I'm tempting fate, but I think we're going to be okay. If we can leave them together today, let them sleep together, this is a done deal. And like I said, now it'll just be over to sort of the police and making sure that we can keep hold of Amy.
Good boy, Milo. Caesar, come on, buddy.
If all continues to go well, Amy will have the family she so badly needs. The team are really happy.
Amy has got an amazingly playful character. She's absolutely adorable, and even though she's been kept in awful conditions, it doesn't seem to have dampened her spirit, luckily. So it just makes you happy because you know what she's come from, and to be able to give her family back is just the most rewarding part of your job.
It's not just the weather that's cold and frosty in the lemur enclosure at Malagasy. The atmosphere is a little chilly too. Indiana, the group's dominant male and once constant companion of female leader Fennel, is having to keep his distance from the rest of the troop. 5-year-old twins, Kurt and Friedrich, are attempting a bit of a coup.
Originally, Kurt and Friedrich had just climbed above a few of the lower rankers and were slowly sort of making their way up the group. But they've decided to go straight for the top boy. And Kurt, in particular, with the help of his brother Friedrich, has really been making an effort to oust Indiana from that top spot and try and take it for himself.
There are 11 lemurs at Malagasy, 9 males, and the 2 females, Kaya and dominant female, Fennel. Females are in charge in ring-tailed lemur society, with a male hierarchy below. In the last few months, the 2 youngest males, Kurt and Friedrich, have come of age and decided to take over the top spot from Indiana. Kurt has led the way, with brother Friedrich backing him up.
It started off with just a little bit of sort of pushing him off food, and it kind of escalated to a lot of chases. It didn't help as well that Kurt and Friedrich are very good friends with Kaya, who is a very feisty female, and she kind of loves any opportunity to join in on a chase, so she was allying with them and chasing Indiana around. We actually had a few nights where we had to sleep Kaya and Kurt and Friedrich separately because they weren't really letting Indiana come into the sheds at night. So it's been a bit tense over here because of that, and because of, basically trying to push Indiana out of that top spot.
But not all members of the troop are happy with Kurt and Friedrich's bid for power.
It's definitely not a case of the whole group has thrown their support in behind Kurt and Friedrich, and I think it's probably because we have this little group of guys that have been together for so many years. There's a lot of history there, so Fennel doesn't seem too keen to turn on someone who has been a close friend and ally.
Indiana does still have one close ally and friend, Renton. There's a strong bond between the pair, and even with Kurt and Friedrich in the near vicinity, Renton is still the one constant Indiana can rely on. The same can't be said of Indiana's twin brother Sirius, who until recently was his second in command.
Sirius has been conspicuous by his absence. He's pretty much stayed away from any of the chasing. He doesn't seem to want to get involved in anything like that. So Indy has been a little bit on his own when the chasing has started. He hasn't had his brother's backing.
Steph is hoping things don't go so far that Indiana is pushed out altogether. Lemurs can be pretty ferocious at times, and with their sharp teeth can inflict serious injuries on each other. For now, he's standing his ground, and although on the periphery of the group, is determined to stay close enough without causing any serious conflict.
It's kind of sad to see Indiana lose that top spot because he's had it for so many years. He's not sort of ancient, but he is getting on a little bit in years, whereas the young twins are in the prime of their life at the moment. They've put on loads of weight, they look really, really good. So yeah, it is a natural thing to see the older guys eventually sort of falling down the hierarchy. But this is what lemurs do, unfortunately. They're not always the most pleasant to each other, and everyone wants to be on top.
For now, the team are keeping a close eye on the group and hoping things don't become too aggressive. Whether Indiana can see off the challenge and climb back to the top of the group, or whether Kurt and Friedrich will ultimately succeed in their power grab, only time will tell. Monkey World was set up 30 years ago to provide a permanent home to 9 abused Spanish beach chimps. Since then, hundreds of primates have been rescued from all over the world, many arriving in poor physical condition, having suffered abuse or neglect in the hands of unscrupulous owners. Thanks to the dedicated staff at the park, most recover to live a healthy and normal life with others of their own kind. But with over 250 primates to care for, many of whom are elderly, it's not surprising the team have had to come to terms with losing some of their much-loved charges over the years. Some are expected, but every now and again something happens that leaves the team and the primates reeling. A few days ago they received such a shock. Without warning, bachelor chimp Ben suddenly passed away.
We've had just a real big shock and tragedy here in our bachelor group of chimpanzees. Unexpectedly, would have never called it in a million years, but Ben has passed away. Nobody saw it coming. He went out with the group like he does every morning, And then all of the sudden, some calls went out that were clearly a little bit more full on and alerted the keepers that something was going on. And when they came out, Ben was out in the middle of the enclosure with everybody, sort of down on his belly. He sat up once, twice, and just collapsed forward and was gone.
A post-mortem has revealed the cause of this tragic death.
Ben died of a heart attack, and the condition which he had is called fibrosing cardiomyopathy, which is not an uncommon condition in young adult African apes. It's very sad and tragic. There was nothing that we, could have known was developing with Ben, or B, that we could have done anything about it even if we had known. Still, it leaves a big hole in the bachelor chimps, and sadly for us here at the park, a very tragic and difficult circumstance to deal with.
Ben was one of the primates born at the park. He arrived in 2001 to Mum Peggy, following the failure of her birth control. Sadly, his start to life didn't go smoothly.
Yeah, I looked in, do my morning checks, and I looked in there, and there's a baby being had and abandoned on the floor. And Mum, Peggy, had just sort of put him down and didn't want to know. And so clearly that, if you have to hand rear an animal, it's always a decision you have to make, whether you know, when to go in, if to go in, but there's nothing more obvious than that. So clearly, you know, we had to take him away to be hand reared.
Ben was fortunate to have the love and attention of Jeremy, who hand-reared him from day one.
Look at him. Looks like anybody's kid, doesn't he? Dribbling and...
And 2 months later, he was joined by another chimp, a little female called Pip, also left to fend for herself, this time by Mum Cherry. Together, they formed an inseparable bond.
Ben and Pip were, I think really, it's a pretty well a foregone conclusion that bringing two up together like that, you know, whether they're chimps or orangs or any other animal, they're going to sort of have a real bonding going on, and Ben and Pip had a really good bonding. They can keep each other company, they can use each other as role models, and then sort of comfort each other, play with each other, entertain each other, and then there's less human influence going on, which of course is a lot better for them and easier to integrate them back into family life with other chimpanzees.
Under the supervision of Sally, they both graduated into the chimp nursery where new friendships were made. Ben in particular became firm friends with Seamus and Turkish Charlie, partnerships that would help him in the future. And he made a big impression with the primate care staff too.
You remember him from those days as just such a sweet-natured chimp. He was always so affectionate and really gentle around the staff, and just, you know, a fun chimp to be around. So I feel very privileged in that sense, because I obviously got to watch Ben grow and watch him, you know, become the magnificent male that he became.
Having outgrown the nursery, Ben, along with Pip, moved to Hananya's group. But Hananya wasn't going to accept the young male into his community. So he moved to the bachelors.
Hello, Caveless. Who's that? Is that Benny boy? He's a good boy.
Where he would be reacquainted with old friends.
Yeah, there were obviously a couple of individuals in the bachelor group that Ben had lived with in the past, and that was kind of a tick, I guess, in terms of making a decision about whether it would work there. And it's, you know, a testament to those animals and kind of the relationships that they form and the memories that they have, that they can recognise individuals many years on, and individuals that have changed physically. So that kind of gave us a good starting point, I guess. And from that point onwards, really, most members of the bachelor group took to Ben, and he developed, I think, so quickly at that point and became really a force to be reckoned with, and quite a significant member of that group.
Ben was an extremely astute and savvy chimp, forging strong relationships with some of the more dominant animals, yet still maintaining close bonds with the low rankers. He soon found himself rising up the bachelor hierarchy. And physically, he turned into a formidable-looking chimp. Strong and confident. Everything required to potentially become the alpha male, which makes his passing even more tragic.
It's just so sad with Ben because he was a very young adult chimp and absolutely gorgeous. Just incredibly big, beautiful, perfect, and you know, they always, the saying, only the good die young. And he was one of those good guys. And that's what, it does make it harder because we can all look at him and think that he would have made potentially a great leader of this group.
Yeah, I mean, he really was a pin-up chimp. He was so magnificent, this glossy coat. He was very lean, but really well muscled, you know, by the end, and just so great to look at. And watching him display around the enclosure, it'd take your breath away, really. And I think he had all the makings of a superb dominant male. And I think he changed the dynamics of the bachelor group for the better.
Ben had an impact on all those around him, his own kind, and the team who cared for him.
Ben was a nice guy. You know, Ben was, I think he was a sort of, I don't think he was a particularly, he was capable, I mean, because he was a big lad, but I don't think he was anything other than a nice guy.
Everybody's still reeling. We haven't moved on from it. It was a real shock when you don't see it coming and an animal's in the prime of his life and he's got everything going for him. It's a big loss and one that we'll feel for a long time.
Next time on Monkey Life, Alison's in the Lebanon to rescue two rare endangered Gwenan monkeys.
Hey, Mrs. Benny and Nia. Oh, there's a little boy.
And back at the park, there's a wobbly treat for the bachelor chimps.